It started with a smile across a classroom desk and ended with a body buried in the Florida swamps. When detectives arrived at Palmetto High School that morning, they found an empty classroom, a shattered phone on the floor, and a single text message that would unravel everything. "I can't keep this secret anymore." The teacher was 28. The student was 17, and their forbidden relationship was about to turn into one of the most disturbing murder cases Florida has ever seen. Tonight, we're uncovering the truth behind the headlines, the lies that were told, and the moment everything spiraled out of control. This is the story of Sarah Mitchell and Tyler Hadley, and how love turned into obsession, obsession turned into rage, and rage turned into murder. Before we go any further, here's what we need to answer tonight. How does a respected teacher with a spotless record end up in a secret relationship with her student? What happened in that classroom on the night of March 15th that led to her death? And here's the question that haunts everyone who knows this case. Was this a crime of passion, or was it planned all along? By the end of this video, you'll know the answer. But I'm warning you now, nothing about this case is what it seems.
Dark Stories. True crime is your home for chilling crimes, unsolved mysteries, and the darkest secrets the world has to offer. We uncover shocking cases, disturbing truths, and mysterious disappearances. Hit subscribe and join us.
Sarah Mitchell wasn't supposed to end up in Florida. She grew up in Ohio, small town, close family, the kind of girl who wanted to change the world one student at a time. She graduated top of her class, got her teaching degree, and moved to Palmetto, Florida in 2019 with dreams of making a difference. By all accounts, she was doing exactly that. Her students loved her, parents trusted her. She taught English literature to juniors and seniors at Palmetto High, and she had a way of making Shakespeare feel like it mattered. But Sarah had a secret side, one that very few people saw. She was lonely. Her marriage had fallen apart just months after moving to Florida. Her ex-husband David had stayed behind in Ohio, and the divorce was messy, painful, and left her isolated in a state where she knew almost no one. Friends would later say she was vulnerable, searching for connection, searching for someone who understood her. And that's when Tyler Hadley walked into her classroom. Tyler Hadley was 17 years old, a senior at Palmetto High, and he was nothing like the other kids. He was quiet, introspective, the kind of teenager who sat in the back of the class scribbling in notebooks that no one ever saw. He lived with his mother, Angela, in a modest house on the outskirts of town. His father had left when Tyler was 9, and he never really talked about it. But people who knew Tyler said he carried that abandonment with him everywhere. He was looking for something, someone to fill that void. At school, Tyler was invisible to most, but not to Sarah Mitchell. She saw something in him, something she recognized: pain, loneliness, a desperate need to be understood. They started talking after class, small conversations at first, literature, life, dreams. Then the conversations got longer, deeper, more personal, and somewhere along the way, the line between teacher and student started to blur. It started innocently enough, or at least that's what Sarah would tell herself later. Extra tutoring sessions after school, text messages about assignments that slowly turned into text messages about life. Tyler would stay late in her classroom, and they'd talk for hours. She told him things she'd never told anyone, about her divorce, her loneliness, how lost she felt in Florida, and Tyler listened. For the first time in his life, someone made him feel important. By November 2022, the messages had changed. They weren't talking about books anymore. Tyler sent her a message at 11 p.m. one night. "You're the only person who really sees me." Sarah responded, "I see you, Tyler. I wish things were different." That's when the boundary shattered. They met outside of school for the first time in December, a quiet coffee shop 2 towns over where no one would recognize them. Then it was a park. Then it was her apartment. Tyler's mother, Angela, started noticing changes in her son. He was happier, more secretive, constantly on his phone. She asked him if he had a girlfriend. He smiled and said, "Something like that." But Sarah was spiraling. She knew what she was doing was wrong, illegal, career-ending. She tried to pull back multiple times, but Tyler wouldn't let her. He'd show up at her apartment unannounced. He'd send dozens of messages if she didn't respond. What started as connection was turning into control. If you're still watching at this point, drop a comment and let me know I'm still here. I want to see who's really paying attention, because what comes next is going to change everything you think you know about this case. Let's keep going by. February 2023, Sarah Mitchell was trapped. Tyler had become obsessed. He didn't see her as his teacher anymore. He saw her as his. He wanted her to leave teaching, to run away with him, to start a new life. She tried to reason with him, told him they needed to stop, that what they were doing could destroy both of their lives. But Tyler didn't hear it that way. To him, Sarah was trying to abandon him, just like his father did. The messages got darker. You can't just leave me. After everything we've been through, you're all I have. Sarah confided in one friend, a fellow teacher named Monica, without giving details. She said she was in a situation she didn't know how to get out of. Monica told her to go to the police. Sarah said she couldn't. It would ruin everything. On March 10th, 5 days before her death, Sarah tried to end it. She sent Tyler a final message. We can't do this anymore. I care about you, but this has to stop. Tyler's response came 2 hours later. If you leave me, I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. March 15th, 2023. A Wednesday. Sarah Mitchell taught her classes like normal, but students would later say she seemed distracted, nervous. After school, she stayed late grading papers. Tyler waited in the parking lot. Security footage shows him entering the building at 5:47 p.m. He went straight to her classroom. What happened in that room over the next hour, no one knows for sure, but what we do know is this. At 6:52 p.m., a janitor heard shouting coming from Sarah's classroom, male and female voices. He didn't investigate, thought it was just a teacher disciplining a student. At 7:08 p.m., Tyler's phone pinged a cell tower 3 miles from the school, moving fast. At 7:34 p.m., Sarah Mitchell's phone went dark. It would never turn on again. The next morning, Sarah didn't show up for work. The school called her. No answer. They called again. Nothing. By noon, they called the police. Officers went to her apartment. Her car was in the driveway. The door was unlocked. Inside, everything looked normal, except Sarah Mitchell was gone. Her purse, her keys, her wallet, all still there. The only thing missing was Sarah. The Palmetto Police Department launched a missing persons investigation immediately. They interviewed friends, family, co-workers. Everyone said the same thing. Sarah would never just disappear. Detectives pulled her phone records. The last person she texted was Tyler Hadley. They brought him in for questioning on March 17th, 2 days after Sarah vanished. Tyler sat across from Detective Linda Ramirez, calm, almost too calm. She asked him when he last saw Sarah. He said he'd stayed after class earlier that week for help with an essay, but that was it. She asked if they were close. He said she was a good teacher, nothing more. She asked if he knew where Sarah might be. He said no, but Detective Ramirez noticed something. Tyler's hands were shaking. There were scratches on his neck. Fresh ones. She asked him about them. He said he'd been working on his car, caught himself on a piece of metal. She didn't believe him, but without evidence, they had to let him go. Tyler walked out of that police station knowing they suspected him, and that's when he made his first mistake. While Tyler thought he was in the clear, detectives were building a case. They got a warrant for Sarah's laptop, her school email, her personal devices. What they found was damning. Hundreds of text messages between Sarah and Tyler, messages that clearly showed an inappropriate relationship. Love letters, photos, plans to meet. But more importantly, they found Sarah's journal. In it, she detailed everything: her guilt, her fear, Tyler's escalating behavior. The final entry was dated March 14th, 1 day before she disappeared. It read, "He won't let me go. I don't know what to do. I'm scared of what he'll do if I keep trying to end this." Armed with this evidence, detectives went back to Tyler's house. They searched his car. In the trunk, they found a shovel, a tarp, and traces of blood. It was Sarah's blood. Tyler was arrested on March 22, 2023, and charged with first-degree murder. But Sarah's body still hadn't been found. Tyler Hadley sat in an interrogation room for 11 hours. For the first 9, he said nothing. Then, Detective Ramirez played him a recording, Sarah's voice from her journal, reading the entry about being scared. Tyler broke. He started crying, rocking back and forth. And then he confessed. He said he went to Sarah's classroom that night to talk, to convince her not to leave him. They argued. She told him it was over, that she was going to the police, that she was ready to face the consequences. Tyler said he didn't plan it, that it just happened. He grabbed her. She fought back. That's where the scratches came from. He said he didn't remember exactly what happened next, just that she stopped moving. He panicked. He put her body in his car, drove out to the Everglades, and buried her in a remote area off Highway 41. He drew a map. On March 25th, police found Sarah Mitchell's body exactly where Tyler said it would be. The trial of Tyler Hadley began in September 2023. The courtroom was packed. Sarah's family sat on one side, Tyler's mother, Angela, on the other. The prosecution painted Tyler as a manipulative, obsessed teenager who killed Sarah because she tried to leave him. The defense argued that Sarah was the adult, that she groomed Tyler, that he was a victim too. It was a strategy that divided the public. Some saw Tyler as a cold-blooded killer. Others saw him as a troubled kid who was taken advantage of by someone in a position of power. The jury deliberated for 3 days. On October 12, 2023, they returned with a verdict: guilty of second-degree murder. Tyler Hadley was sentenced to 40 years in prison. He'll be eligible for parole when he's 57 years old. But the story doesn't end there. 6 months after the trial, new evidence emerged. A forensic analysis of Sarah's laptop revealed something investigators missed: deleted emails, messages Sarah had sent to another teacher, a man named Robert Chen. In those emails, Sarah confessed that she wasn't the only one Tyler was obsessed with. There was another relationship, one that had ended badly. A relationship between Tyler and a 23-year-old teaching assistant named Emily Ross. Emily had left Palmetto High abruptly in January 2023, 2 months before Sarah's death. No one knew why. Detectives tracked Emily down. She was living in Georgia. When they asked her about Tyler, she broke down. She admitted she'd had an affair with him too. She said Tyler had threatened her the same way he'd threatened Sarah. She said she ran because she was terrified. The revelation rocked the case. It meant Tyler had a pattern. It meant Sarah wasn't his first victim, just his first murder. Emily Ross is now living under a new identity, still looking over her shoulder, still afraid that Tyler might find her when he gets out. So what do we take from this? This case asks uncomfortable questions. Who's really to blame when a teacher crosses the line with a student? Can a teenager truly consent to a relationship with an adult in a position of power? And when does obsession become evil? Sarah Mitchell made terrible choices. She violated her position of trust, broke the law, and put herself in a dangerous situation. But does that mean she deserved to die? Tyler Hadley was a minor, a troubled kid who was manipulated. But he's also a killer who buried a woman in the swamp and tried to get away with it. The truth is, this case doesn't have easy answers. Both of them made choices that led to tragedy. And in the end, 2 lives were destroyed, one ended, and one locked away forever. Sarah's mother still visits her grave every week. Tyler's mother hasn't spoken to him since the trial, and Palmetto High School installed new security measures, new protocols, hoping this never happens again. But we all know it will. Because as long as people blur the lines between power and love, between connection and control, stories like this will keep happening. So here's my question for you. Was this a tragedy or a crime? Was Tyler a victim or a monster? Was Sarah groomed by a teenager, or did she create the monster herself? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading every single one. And if you think you know someone in a similar situation, don't stay silent. Speak up. It might save a life. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. If you want to hear more cases like this, check out our video on the teacher who faked her own death to escape her past. It's linked on screen right now. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there.